You might think it's impossible, but trust me, it's true. You can make painting a full-time career. And in this video, I'm going to detail my 5 keys to success. Plus, we'll talk to Wayne Malkin, owner of the Montville Art Gallery. He'll tell you what he looks for in an artist, what to expect in your first year of exhibiting, and so much more. Hi, I'm Whisson, and for the past 36 years, I've been painting in oils as my full-time job. I see it as my duty to activate, encourage, and push the next generation of artists onto the world stage. Tools I wish I had when I was starting out. So let's get stuck into it. The internet changed everything. The way we shop, the way we connect, and the art we consume. Beautiful in the sense that somebody in rural Kansas can share their work with the world, but at the same time, struggle to stand out in a crowded marketplace of ideas. That's where it's key to find your voice. Traditionally, there are 2 paths, academic or unorthodox. As an academic, you can base your work in the general teachings of such artists as John Singer Sargent, Anders Zorn, and Arthur Streeton. Or the unorthodox. You'll produce work that's abstracted, similar to Francis Bacon, Gerhard Richter are 2 excellent examples. There isn't a right or wrong decision, it's just a matter, the one that speaks to you as an artist. Academics need to discipline themselves to a structure of drawing, tonal values, and composition. My training began under my father's guidance, Whisson, at the age of 20. Even though he provided me with the fundamentals, I was given advice from a family friend to carve my own path. There does lie a dangerous trap in mimicking too closely another artist's work. That's why it's so important to create a larger pool of inspiration to draw from. The quality of light in Eliath Gruner's work sent a chill down the back of my neck the very first time I saw it. As I've always thought, my work is a collection of every great painting I've ever witnessed. In contrast, the unorthodox is the road more challenging to travel. Because of this specific approach, it relies on shape, form, and exaggeration. It can take a great deal longer to gain a foothold in the marketplace, but there is an appetite for this style of work. Ken Whisson, my father's second cousin, had a prolific 70-year career. He found it an uphill battle to begin with, but now is collected through state and national galleries. When you paint what you love and love what you paint, you will find your style. Online versus offline. They each have their strengths and weaknesses, but we need both if we're going to give ourselves the greatest chance to become known. You're in the art industry, but you're also in the marketing business. Quality over quantity is the simple equation. On Instagram, I have just shy of 100,000 followers. I attribute this to only posting my strongest paintings and diversifying my subject matter. In the Australian painting scene, we have a not so endearing term for artists who stick to their niche, recipe painters. You can gain a decent following in the short term from painting the same scene over and over again. But today, variety is king. And there is the potential to turn your passion into a career, whatever the platform. We primarily post video here on YouTube and Patreon, but there are plenty of other apps available to promote yourself. You just need to do your research. I firmly believe my work wouldn't work as well on TikTok. That's why I don't post there. However, I'm fortunate enough to have such a great team running my online presence. In the early years, you are the team. I believe this is a crucial period to discover what work sells and what's holding you back. As the expression goes, if you can hold someone's attention for 3 seconds, you'll have them for a lifetime. And nowhere is that more important than a gallery. Montville have been kind enough to give us behind the scenes access. But as you can see from wall to wall, every piece is vying for your attention. I believe all you need is a small number of quality, hard-working galleries. That's enough to provide you with a base income, a solid foundation to grow. Traditionally, having a solo exhibition each year always was an excellent marketing and financial bonus. I sat down with Wayne Malkin earlier this morning. He explains what you can expect in the current marketplace. This is that conversation. Hi Wayne, how have you been?
Great, thank you. Really good.
It's great to sort of be able to spend some time in the gallery. It's really appreciated. What we'd really love to hear from you and your advice is how to approach a gallery.
Well, there's obviously right and wrong, and the best advice I can give is to be prepared. Choose the sort of gallery that already exhibits the sort of art that you do. If you're a realist painter and you go to an abstract style gallery, they won't be interested in your work, and vice versa. So really choosing the gallery first, find out who the owners are, make an appointment or send an email with an appointment and make an appointment to come and bring some of your work in.
And the flip side is how not to approach a gallery.
Well, I suppose have all the information that the gallery needs to know to make a decision on whether you're suitable for the gallery or not. Basically, they would like to see your work and examples of at least 5 or 6, but not work that's a smattering of different styles, but all the same medium, subject matter, to get a real feel for what you do as an artist, and also not older work, newer work, so they know what's up to date.
So what does make an artist attractive for representation to a gallery?
A gallery looks for an artist in terms of a brand. So a brand is where collectors of art can come in and recognise the work of the artist and appreciate it and collect it and know what to expect. So again, subject, style, consistency, and the ability to produce work relentlessly and with the highest quality. Going back to the previous question, if you bring in work which is substandard, even if it's just one work out of 6, the gallery will not be so interested in taking you on, because you can't make up the numbers with poor quality work. It's just got to be your very best work that you show the gallery.
Yeah, you're really looking for that professionalism from the person and represented in their work, I guess.
Absolutely, yes. It's if you're a brand, you need to be of the highest quality and consistent. That's what a gallery is looking for.
And painting is quite competitive as well. You're not only trying to get the best out of yourself, but you have to look at it as a career and earning an income as well. So
absolutely, you've got to treat it like a job and not treat it as a hobby if you're with a gallery. Yes, having that sort of professional outlook certainly helps.
So what, in that, say, first year or that first period, what can an artist sort of expect, or what would they need to be prepared to do for that gallery, that new representation?
Well, the gallery will expect you to keep in touch with them, as they will with you, and the feedback and backwards and forwards is really quite important. Comments by visitors, whether they buy the work or not, is quite important, and as an artist you don't hear that. But if the gallery can hear everything that goes on, we'll pass that on. It gives you some useful feedback in terms of your direction. As far as the responsibilities go, the gallery has a responsibility to promote your career, not the individual paintings as much. It's a different mindset. And the professionalism back from the artist has to be the same too. So these days, because artists are so easily contactable, they will often get people who've been in the gallery, call them directly, say, can we buy that painting, and we'll buy it a little bit cheaper because we won't go through the gallery. And that's a real no-no. It doesn't help the gallery to help promote your work, and in fact, you don't get any more money than what you would do if you sold it through the gallery, because you've cut out the commission side of things that the gallery has to have to run the gallery. That's kind of a bit more of a modern concern really than, say, in the 70s and 80s, where with the internet does provide that sort of contact with the collector and the artist, I guess. Absolutely, yes.
It's been a real pleasure having a chat to you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Collie.
And as nice as it would be to be able to walk into every gallery and have them hang your work immediately, there are alternatives, pop-up exhibitions, cafes, and public spaces that you can think has good foot traffic that can offer a quality alternative to the traditional gallery experience. When I first started exhibiting my work, I was a part of a collective art group that would run art shows in major shopping malls. In this phase of my career, it wasn't about the possible income, it was about exposure. I had to find any way and every way to advertise my work, keeping my best work for art competitions. I've entered over 40 at this point in my career, and it can shine a spotlight onto you as an artist and propel your name into the conversation. Plein air events also offer a unique but equally valid entry point. Personally, I had the great fortune of Vincent Miller, owner of Australian Artists and International Artists, noticing my work when he was on holiday at Noosa while visiting the Beachside Gallery. That led me to writing an article for them, which led to a book deal, and in 2019, a painting tour to Italy. So you just never know where the greater possibilities lie if you don't put your name out there.
A lifetime of teaching actually teaches you, I think, to paint, because you have to verbalise and express what it is to paint.
That was the exact advice I was given when I started teaching. It's the repeated process of explanation that drills home the fundamentals. Those are the building blocks that make great art. We don't need to be the world's greatest painter, because every student is at a different level and you just need to meet them where they are. I've been teaching in person and online for over 30 years now, and it's the bedrock of my career. If not for teaching, the middle of my career wouldn't have flourished, even providing me with the opportunity to travel to places I could have never dreamed of, and given me the perpetual challenge of new subject matter, which has elevated my painting to that next level. That's even before I partnered with Tucson Art Academy Online. Online teaching has become a greater asset in recent years, as you can run the show, host students from around the world, and structure your day to suit yourself. I see this business as the future, and in 30 years' time, I have no doubt this is going to be how most people receive their art education. However you teach, it's to your benefit. In 1993, I was visiting a gallery in Brisbane. Its collection stocked work solely of deceased artists, and it's upon that visit where I struck up a conversation with one of its owners. Apparently she knew my work, kindly offered me a compliment. In that moment, I didn't understand the gravity of what she had said, but today, her simple statement comes in loud and clear. She said, "You have two qualities that many artists lack: reliability and consistency. Treating art as a job, having the discipline to produce work that the gallery requested, only shipping my best, delivering it suitably framed and on time." That's where a lot of people falter. Throughout my career, I've lived by this motto: I need to be prepared to work twice as hard and receive half the pay. It's what's driven me to success and put me in the room here and now. I hope you can take something away from this video. Feel free to use it as a template for your own career, because the world needs more great artists. And who knows, it could be you. If you have any further questions or ideas for future videos, feel free to leave a comment down below. In saying that, thanks for watching. Bye for now.